You guys. So I first took a look at Dolly's transcript. So this is what his yesterday's video covered. I was looking for the new information. So he's recapping the day's disappearance. Talked about trips to Warriors State Park, Walgreens, Sonic, Save-A-Lot, and the Hippie Hut for Delta 8 vapes and alcohol. Yeah, that's true too. Very unhealthy. Dolly was questioning the inconsistencies like the milk photo. Some believe Summer appeared deceased in it, of course. Timeline of dropping off Hunter and the milk spoilage. All that milk's for Donnie. Donnie likes to chug on milk when he's at work, by the way. Drywalling. Oh, yeah. It's probably a side effect. You know, like women, when you get pregnant, you have strange cravings like pickles and things like that. Donnie, when he gets high, he's got strange cravings too, and it's chugging all of that milk. It's not like it's bad for you. Is it for his ulcers, Gen 7? Yeah. Has a healing quality to it. Wonder how he's getting the ulcers. Yeah, warm milk at that, Walt. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, friends. In my opinion, of course. No doubt about it that that 311 milk jug photo has always been, there's always been something off for it. Same with the video that goes through it that has Candace. Isn't that Candace's voice holding the camera? Talking about how her hand was sitting up. Like, there's something off about it all. But it's very difficult to tell all of this. She's very fair-skinned in that sense. There's nothing... there doesn't appear to be any injuries on her in the photo. It's just bizarre to me. The first thing that stuck out to me was the fact that here's a girl dead asleep on a bunch of cold milk jugs. And it doesn't have to be, 40-degree milk. It could be room temperature and still be cold. It's a liquid. It's going to take the heat from your body. It's going to feel cold. But why? Like, they just came from the grocery store. They're not going to be absolutely warm at that point. They're going to be cold enough to be, uncomfortable, in my opinion. And why the hell is she sprawled all over it like she's been staged there? I think Justin, he's starting to form the opinion over there that I read that he's considering this to be premeditated, and he's never talked about it being premeditated before, but now considering their interactions with CPS or DFCS or DHS in Tennessee, I can't remember who it is, but Child Protective Services, in the weeks and days leading up to the disappearance. Now he's considering it to be premeditated in that sense. Were they starting, were they talking to Summer? Were they trying to figure out if she indeed is being abused in that sense? And the more that she talked in that sense, Dawn, of course, would become, a criminal again. That would be his third strike, essentially, and a long string of perverted, weird, bizarre, illegal behavior. It's not something you can ignore. It's something that Dawn has to live with. You don't have to hold it against them necessarily. It's not what we're doing here, but it shows the greater pattern. And I mean, it would definitely fit. So, was whatever happened to Summer Wells premeditated by Dawn and Candace is now a very serious question. What are you saying, Walt? Is there a product that is a shack in a back used to the milk jugs? What are you saying to me? What are you saying? Is there something in the milk that Dawn's using to manufacture No. Nothing but the nourishment to sustain these long nights of his. But talking about that stuff, that's Fred Hill. Fred Hill's the tweaker, dude. Now, allegedly, people are talking about him and Candace knocking boots. Dolly says they're slapping mullets. So he was fooling around on. You remember his ex-girlfriend? He really did a number on her. He destroyed her life, her health. Poor girl. Yeah, it's just an extension of the debauchery that was already going on up there, Gen 7. You think so, even down to the cars they drove and bringing others into the mix like Hunter? Yeah. Yeah. Hunter was being groomed in that sense, no doubt about it. We can talk at great lengths about boy H. Now people are so much more critical. I can't stop thinking about him as he's an adult, of course, now, but barely. But Andrew's son, but he still should be treated with some sort of respect in that sense, even though that he wants to pretend to be a gangster and he's, exercising his Second Amendment. People want to hold all of... they just find things after the fact to hold against them. But no doubt about it, Hunter was being groomed. And they got caught. They got caught in the middle of a situation where you've got no real reason to be around a 14-year-old kid with booze and cigarettes. There's no answer for that question from Candace. Like, how many other times has that happened? It's a continuous thing. Allie let that happen. She didn't recognize how inappropriate it was for them to even be out there if you're not, one, close friends with them. But it's possible that communication wasn't that great in Hunter's house. Family dynamics. Let me see. Let's get to the information here. So Dolly's his conversation was focused on neglect and ABUSC, including the SA allegations against Don, house conditions, and CPS visit the day before. He pointed to Don Candace, referred to as Candace, yes, and Fred Hill as the primary suspects. Dolly did suggests a rug ring, organized crime, potential RICO charges, and cover-up. He dismisses church involvement, but notes creepy figures like the flute dude, David Dodson. Yeah, listen. They're just happy religious people. Easy to take advantage of. That's why Don and Candace were around there to begin with. They're kicked out of every other church. Now Don has this real personal grudge against the Catholic Church. He wants to take that and put that onto like the general public. There's all kinds of or everybody's mad at the Catholic Church, for crying out loud. But you don't have to make a centuries old grief yours in the moment, right? And what is it really? Listen, it takes away from the happiness and the joy that you're supposed to bring your congregation. Don't hang on to things. But everything's really a split off Catholicism, but Catholicism has more in line and is more related to what people used to worship in Rome before Catholicism. It has more to do with anti-religious rhetoric than what Christianity does. They don't like Jesus. I love Jesus. Jesus is the man. Jesus, he did a lot. He did everything that you want. It was like a how-to guide. That's what the Bible is, bro. teaching you how to make booze, how to hustle, how to stick it to the man. Goes on to say, points to Don and Candace, or he says, Dolly claims multiple visits to the area, 10 plus times, doing some droning, searching, and interactions with locals. Dolly cracks me up. Oh, shit. Some people don't like... Well, Linda Glover, I think the threat, what's in my mind, is that if they're taking her to Paul Hill in that sense, he's got a pig farm there. They've got a small child, and you leave the child in any one of the pigs, turn off the lights, put the body in, and there'll be nothing left. And what is left can get disposed of, which is probably going to be a skull bone, your forehead. Now, I managed a 80 sow farrow to finish pig farm from the age of 14 to about 19, and I know how nasty pigs can be with one another. They cannibalize one another real quick. Any pigs. You don't have to even have nasty, angry, raised by warlord pigs. They can just be any old pig. They're just in their nature. They're society's garbage compactors in that sense, historically. So I don't think, Linda, that they took them to Paul to go and then take care of their problem. They went and used their association to the hills to get onto the property, like he's got a fishing hole. So if you get their permission to go fishing and you have a reason to be up on their property, there's nothing to say you can't just take a little package back and drop it in one of the pig pens. Nobody's the wiser. And old Paul Hill thinks you're up there just fishing in the back, right? Maybe they stock their pond back there with trout or bass or whatever. Good to see you, Nasty. Do you know what I'm saying? So the association between Fred Hill and the Van Hill Road property, Paul Hill, would be just access to get to the pigs to dispose of Summer. And that's by way, and that's, I believe, where the fishing spot and all this talk fits in, because in order to go to this place, say Don wanted to call and get permission to go up and use and to fish a little bit in the back ponds, or Candace, it would have given them a reason to have their vehicle up there and, dispose of their problem, which is Summer, on their property, probably in the pig pen. Yeah, they say they don't eat the teeth. That's right, Callie. Maybe the Callie OJ Hip 1959, is that what the FBI was looking for? Teeth, perhaps? Perhaps. It could be that any remnants, anything. Just to see how maybe the depends on what exactly their disposal for pig shit is. Is like some barns have it where there's slats and the pig shit underneath into a big holding pit, and then you pull a plug and it's fed through gravity on out to a great big tank out in the field. Or it could be that it looked like a fairly large operation. I'm not sure if it's farrow to finish, if it's just like gilt barns or what it is. Or what their method of cleaning the pig shit up is. Teeth and hair they can't digest. No, Jen. No, Dolly's not suggesting that Fred helped them. There's no talk about this up there. They're just talking loosely. I'm not sure exactly what he's saying, but he certainly didn't say that. They weren't saying anything. I don't think that they're trying to associate Fred directly to the disappearance. Isn't what I just explained more of a reasonable way to include everybody here? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, okay, Fred's involved in this, therefore He must have done something. I don't think Fred has done anything. I don't. But I think that their close association in all of this has something to do with it. And who knows? But that association, there has to be something to it. Why did they raid Paul Hill's barn? They have information that we don't. I want to know what that information is. Like, speculating about that is interesting. And that's kind of what we're doing here online, aren't we? And I think that's what Dolly and Justin are doing, in a sense. Like, we're there kind of, that's where our minds are. It's not like this is what probably has happened. We don't have a reason to include Fred. I'm not buying this pimping Summer out. It's just actually seems like an excuse for the abuser, the perpetrator of the abuse in the first place, which is Dawn. There's no need to look at anybody other than Dawn. Yeah, Angel Wings, you think Fred knows what happened? I don't. I don't even think he has a clue. I don't think he has a clue. And I don't think that there's much to a rug ring in that sense, or any associations to it. You know, I think Fred has his associations to it, but all of the mistreatment and his ass kicking that came by way of getting his ass kicked in jail, that's his own situation. That's separate than what Summer. People are wanting to associate